Bruce Levinson is putting his controlling share of the Atlanta Hawks up for sale after a racially charged email came to light. Levinson wrote the email 2 years ago, but it came out as part of an internal investigation launched by the Hawks in June into another matter. Though Levinson has come under fire for his comments, one person who's not piling on is NBA legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He wrote a Time.com op-ed piece entitled "Bruce Levinson Isn't a Racist, He's a Businessman." Abdul-Jabbar says he wasn't valuing white fans over blacks. He was trying to figure out a way to change what he thought was white perception in Atlanta so he could sell more tickets. That would be his job. Joining me now, Ellis Hennigan, columnist for Newsday, and CNN political commentator Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to both of you.
Welcome. Oh, thank you.
Hello.
So I'm trying to get the email so I can read our viewers directly what Bruce Levinson had to say. But basically he was saying there are too many black fans in the seat. He wanted to diversify his audience, and maybe they should stop playing so much hip-hop music. And maybe whites were afraid to come to the arena because there were so many black people there.
Because white people would never listen to hip-hop, right? Yeah.
I think we should get black fans by playing country.
There you go.
That? Get some Garth Brooks in there. The blacks will come.
Right.
Don't worry. Yeah.
I mean, I get the distinction, and what he's essentially saying is he's not Donald Sterling. Few people are Donald Sterling, and that's a super low bar of any sort, right? But that's not the only way to think about racism. Do I think that Levinson hates black people or has ill intent toward black people? Probably not. He has what Monty Perry at Princeton University calls post-intentional racism. He's buying into a system. He's enabling the system to exist, despite the fact that he may or may not have any ill feelings toward black people. It doesn't excuse it.
So there's a zero tolerance policy in the NBA right now, and you can't really say anything remotely sensitive. So as a businessman, you would, I'm just going from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's op-ed, right?
Yeah.
As a businessman, you would want to diversify your audience. So how does he talk about that, Ellen?
Clearly, let's concede he's a dumb businessman to some extent. I mean, he played on an arena where you can't right now. Zero tolerance is terrific, but unfortunately, frequently, and I think in this case a little bit, it stumbles into zero openness and zero willingness to talk and zero risky willingness to be risky about these things. The only way we're going to get through these issues in the long run is if we talk about them openly and we allow some give and take. We don't just clobber somebody at the first time they say something dumb. Because, Mark, people are going to say dumb stuff.
People are going to say dumb things, but when you have the ability to institutionalize your dumbness, to make your dumbness into policy, that's where it becomes problematic. He was attempting to rearrange the way the team approached things, so not just so that more white people would come, but actually so that fewer black people would come. And to me, that's probably, he concedes.
Now, according to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that's not what he was saying. He wasn't like, he didn't want fewer black people to come to the game.
Well,
he wanted more whites.
He wanted a smaller proportion of black people to come, but he also was saying things like, we gave lots of community seats away. We don't want them anymore, to churches and community groups and such. And the truth is, people don't come to Hawks games not because white people, the only black people scaring away white people are the ones who play for the Hawks, right? The Hawks are not good. That's the problem. But there's a core piece here, I think, which is that he concedes that the people who aren't coming, who are racist, should be there. And that's the problem for me. He's saying, yeah, it's racist. I know it's racist, but I want to get them in anyway. That's a problem for me.
Here's the reality, though, guys. It would be way better if this weren't an issue at all, right? In fact, though, race is all over this stuff. You know it's in the hearts of those sports fans. But black and white, it's an issue. It's all over the city of Atlanta. I mean, you know that from your time there, as it is around New Orleans and New York and all the other places that we know. If you're going to talk about it openly and get past it, don't we have to give people the room to say, how are we going to deal with this? How am I going to get more middle-aged white guys in here? The corporations are run by them. We want their money. That's not an inherently racist conversation, I don't think.
Saying I want to target a demographic isn't inherently racist, but by saying things like, he's saying the reason white people aren't coming is because of racism. And he's
could be part of it.
No, but he's saying that. I mean,
could be part of it.
Right, so let's assume he's right?
Okay.
That people don't want to see black people in the kiss cam, and all these other assumptions,
or
right?
Black
or
juniors,
not
for God's
only.
sake.
Or not only. I mean, the diversity, listen, if we're in favor of diversity, and I think most of us are, there's got to be diversity. It doesn't work if you're only on one team or the other, does it?
I get that. And if he said, I want to diversify the audience, we'd all be okay with it. But he says from his own mouth, some of these fans are racist. I want to do things to bring them in. That, for me, is a problem, because he's saying, oh, racism is awful, but how can we monetize it? Making money off of racism to me is fundamentally problematic.
I mean, I'm not
in
for
a private league.
I'm not for flying Confederate flags in the arena. I mean, there's some stuff you shouldn't do.
Right.
But saying, how can we make them more comfortable here?
How can we make white racists more comfortable here?
It's well, you know, the world is God's creatures come in a lot of different varieties,
Right.
and we don't have to love them all. Let's be honest.
No, and we don't have to tolerate all of it either. If someone says, I'm not coming to the game because I don't want to look at black people kiss on the screen, part of
No,
what
you can't do that. You
Right,
can't do
but
that.
that's what
No,
he said,
you can't
right?
do that.
And so it rests upon certain assumptions about black people. We can watch them play on the court. We don't. None of these Southern whites have a problem. No one wants an all-white basketball team.
No,
right?
no.
They don't have a problem with them playing, but they don't want to see them kissing. They don't want to see them at the bar. And then it also rests upon dangerous stereotypes about black people. The father and son piece of it. The fact that people come to the games late, as if, first of all, Miami Heat fans come to the game late too. They're just bad fans. No offense, but y'all are just bad fans. It's not because they're black or white. It's because they suck at being fans. They were the champions and they still didn't come.
We were on the same page with that, but you don't object to a couple of Garth Brooks songs in there. In the mix, a couple of white people kissing, that's okay,
That's
right?
fine.
Bring them on.
Right.
Let them all kiss,
What
right?
troubles me is not that they want some Garth Brooks or some white people kissing. It's the fact that people find it disgusting or something problematic.
That's terrible.
I mean,
That's
it's
terrible.
based on the assumption that black experience is particular and white experience is universal.
That's
and that for me is the problem.
We were on
We're
the
going to
same
have to end
page
it there, although I wish it could go on because I've been enjoying this argument between you two.
Great to see you.
But I want you to stick around because I have some disturbing video to show our viewers. Ray Rice, you remember Ray Rice with the lame suspension from the NFL? We have the entire incident from inside the elevator where he decked his then fiancée. Wait until you see it. We'll talk about that next. There is disturbing video out this morning of suspended NFL running back Ray Rice. I'm going to show it to you, and as I mentioned, it is disturbing. This video was posted by TMZ from inside an Atlantic City elevator the night Rice and his then fiancée were involved in a domestic dispute. All right, you see them going into the elevator. I'm just going to let you watch. It's insane. All right, now here's the most disturbing part to me. So after Ray Rice decks his then fiancée, he drags her unconscious out of the elevator. Oh, the door's closed. Darn, he says. So he drags her out, throws her face down on the floor, and then he picks up her shoe and, because, I guess he wants the elevator doors to close, right? Doesn't pull down her skirt, which is disturbing to me. And at no point does it appear where he bends down and says, "Baby, are you all right?" It's just insane to me. I want to bring back in Marc, Lamont Hill, Ellis Hennigan, and welcome Nichelle Turner as well to talk about this. Nichelle, your thoughts?
Well, it brings tears to my eyes watching it. I mean, it's sickening, it's maddening. As a woman, I'm disgusted and I feel disrespected. We all kind of speculated and wanted to know because we saw that video from outside the elevator when the whole investigation into the domestic violence incident was going on, but we hadn't seen the inside. So when we heard 2 games, we all thought it was light. But now that you see what happened inside and you know that he was suspended for 2 games, I just want to scream because I think that it's ridiculous.
And even though the NFL instituted new punishments for domestic violence, Ray Rice suspension stands.
Right.
And I don't know how I can watch a game involving the Baltimore Ravens and watch him.
I absolutely can't right now. It's incredibly frustrating. Policy says what your priorities are. When someone gets caught with marijuana, they're suspended for game after game after game, sometimes entire seasons. Something like this gets 2 games. It says, what's interesting to me is that the NFL either saw this video and thought there was only one.
They didn't.
Right,
No,
which
I'm
is
going
they
to
didn't.
read you.
If we believe them, right?
Well, let me read their statement and we can go on. This is from the NFL.
Right.
We requested from law enforcement any and all information about the incident, including the video from inside the elevator. That video was not made available to us, and no one in our office has seen it until today.
So one of those.
But there's no justification for law enforcement not turning that over. There's no evidentiary reason they have to keep it. There's no publicity question that gets in the way. They should have immediately had that, right?
My only point is, either if the NFL is telling the truth, and I have some doubt about this, but if the NFL is telling the truth, then I have to ask the question, how do you assign a 2-game suspension without sufficient information into the very thing that was under debate, which was what happened in the elevator?
What do you investigate?
Yeah. And even if you talk to Ray Rice and his then fiancee, now wife, and they said to you
That's the
to you
precedent
what
right there,
went
by the
in.
way.
That's another conversation for another day, because that makes me so sad that she felt like she still needed to marry this man who treated her in such a way. And we've seen it now. We've seen it flat out, that you could actually marry someone who rears back like you are a grown man and knocks you out cold.
And she apologized at the press conference for her role in it. I mean, I always found that troublesome, right? But when I saw the video, I couldn't imagine what she was apologizing for, and how Ray or the Ravens could allow it to happen.
Is a complicated issue, and sometimes abusers make victims out of those they abuse, and they feel like they deserve it somehow.
You
So
do have to
it's
ask
very complicated.
You have to ask the question before we get away from this entirely: is how much of the training and the culture of that game encourages and tolerates this behavior? I'm not saying all players, but there's something. It's not irrelevant, though.
I love
Great
the game
game
of football, and I think that's what saddens me about this as well. This is a man issue. This is a person issue. This is a I can't control my anger issue.
Right.
And for me, I feel like something more needs to be said. I know Roger Goodell and the NFL has come out today and said we didn't know about this, but my point is, well, what did Ray Rice and his then fiance, now wife, tell you about this then? What did they say that happened inside that elevator? And if they told you, if he told you I knocked her out cold, then it should have been more than two games.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Where does the NFL go from here? Because Roger Goodell already said the 2-game suspension would stand, and from here on out it would be different with other players. But after America has seen this video, what should the NFL do now?
They should increase the punishment now. Again, as Nichelle just said, if Ray Rice told them that he did that, then the NFL has to say, look, we made a mistake. Let the Players Association
Goodell did say he made a mistake.
But I mean about the judgment, but if Ray Rice said something different than what's on the tape, then that's an opportunity to say, hey, you weren't forthcoming, you weren't honest, we hadn't seen the tape yet. Now that we see this, 2 games doesn't stand.
And not only that, because we're excusing the team that he plays for. What about them?
Right, I know. Hold on. Don't absolve the league so quickly. We ask these guys, be tough, be mean, be horrible, treat the opponents like dirt, and then we're surprised when some of them, not all of them, but some of them, cross that line and they realize, listen, it's not an easy line, but it's not irrelevant, Mark. It's not
I think there's a broader societal culture of violence against women that we need to eliminate. I don't want to blame the NFL because people make different choices. Look at the Solange Jay-Z video. Rap music encourages all that stuff too. But when faced with the very same circumstance, Jay-Z made a different decision.
We have heroes and we have villains.
And we certainly saw villains this morning.
I got to wrap this up, but thanks to you all. I appreciate it.
We can talk about that.
Ella Sedek and Marc, Lamont Hill, Nichelle Turner, thanks to all of you. We'll be right back.